Okay, so somebody commented on my TikTok the other day, and they were like, "How do you and your husband split finances?" And I'm gonna be really honest.
I don't.
We don't.
We don't.
We don't.
First of all, that's a fucking red flag. I'm not like, no joke. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money.
Someone save this man. What is this? What is this? Are you guys familiar with Akash Singh? All right. If you're not, I'll drop a photo of him. Boop. There he goes right there. All right. Now, this young man is a comedian, and I know of him because he is a co-host or co-comedian on the Flagrant podcast that's right up here up on YouTube, which is hosted by Andrew Schultz. Now, I originally became aware of the Flagrant podcast, and this was like a couple of years ago that Fresh and Fit was invited over to Flagrant to have a conversation about Fresh and Fit's platform, the advice that they were giving to men, the way that they would bring women on and talk about women while they were there, throw them out, kick them out, what have you. And it ended up like becoming a big beef between both platforms, with Fresh and Fit calling the Flagrant boys blue-pilled married simps who just don't understand, with the Flagrant boys calling Fresh and Fit angry red pill incels. Now, I do say I don't remember all of the intricacies of the beef, but I actually did a review of it during that time, and I'll leave a link down below so you can get reacquainted or catch yourself up if you do so choose. Nevertheless, I just so happened to discover that Akash's wife has a podcast, and she's speaking about none other than relationship topics. Let me pop this up on screen just so we know we can have the exact same conversation. Now, his wife, I believe, is about 10 to 15 years younger than him. And to be honest, I am deeply concerned of the red flags that I see right here, and, gives me more information to understand the degree of cope that went into his talking points when speaking about letting men know more about human nature, a woman's nature, in order to understand or get the information to understand how to manipulate the world around them in a way to get the best results. This podcast only has like a couple of hundred subscribers, and this video has like less than 1,000 views, but let's get in there. Without further ado.
Okay, so somebody commented on my TikTok the other day, and they were like, "How do you and your husband split finances?" And I'm gonna be really honest.
I don't.
We don't.
We don't.
We don't.
First of all, that's a fucking red flag. I'm not like, no joke. I love you girls. If you want to work, all for that, whatever. But like, any man that doesn't want to have a joint bank account or isn't being transparent with his accounts or has separate accounts, that's a red flag. And I will say it again, because I know there's going to be already like incel troll motherfucker. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money.
Huh?
And look, have I only made $600 from content creating?
Wow, it went up $100 from last week.
But that's my money.
Huh?
Okay? So just so we're clear, no, that's actually a red flag, because I know so many girls in my life personally that have been with guys that weren't transparent about money, and they ended up being terrible in other aspects, and like people ended up breaking up in divorces, et cetera, et cetera. So that is actually my number one. They must be generous with their finances from day one. That means paying for the first date and everything. And look, I get it, guys. Like, I know that it's rough out there, inflation. Like, I'm not saying to just like waste it on every single girl, but if a girl is special, like, you should be doing that, and you should be courting her properly.
Exactly.
Pause the track, baby. Pause the track. Where is my red flag? Hold on, let me wave that red flag, baby. Wait. Now, I can understand the idea of wanting a joint account with your husband, or an understanding of finances due to planning, right, for transparency, for visibility. But when you start this braggadocious talk on the behalf of the man that is supplying your lifestyle of, this is a one-way street where my money is my money and his money is my money, with all due respect, that is next level bird talk. The mindset of the type of woman that deserves a man of ambition, of passion, that can create a lifestyle, one of which you are uber comfortable in, to the tune of being okay with only generating $600 in a couple of months run of a podcast. Don't get up online and continue to besmirch his name through this quest of power through the utilization of a man. This is sloppy work right here. This is the kind of mindset that you avoid, young men, at all cost. But sadly enough, it is the overwhelming majority of the modern woman mindset today. Not all. And shout out to all my MTRs out there, because y'all would never get up on a public podcast and do no bullshit like this on behalf of the man that is affording your lifestyle. But it continues to expose why men must go through great lengths to protect themselves. Quick emergency meeting. I was recently searching for my name online and found way too much personal information, which brought me down this weird rabbit hole of how that could have happened, and found out that there's companies out there called data brokers that will sell your data to marketers, scammers, and even stalkers. And it's a nasty, disgusting feeling knowing that there's bad actors out there selling my information, selling your information for profit. But that's why I'm recommending today's sponsor, Aura. Now, I use Aura to automatically remove my information from these sites and keep my information off. But they do other things as well, such as bank fraud and identity theft alerts, VPN access. But guys, utilize my link down in the description box down below for a 14-day trial. At least see if you've been compromised. Privacy is king in this day and age, and you should know if your information is out there. So again, utilize my link, aura.com/MTR, in the description box down below to try 2 weeks free. That's way more than enough time to see if your personal data has been exposed. Go now. Meanwhile, she is okay with public dissemination of her utilization of your finances and her unwillingness to contribute back. Her money, baby. It's not the house's money. It got nothing to do with that. Men, if y'all don't take notes to this content and if you are thinking about getting married, invest into an ironclad prenup. Invest into 2 different attorneys, one for her and one for yourself, because this is the exact mindset that will smile through the courting phase. They will smile up on the altar, and meanwhile are more than willing to change direction when things begin to financially fall apart. They are not with it for you in the long haul. And he has a very successful career, uber multimillionaire, and I take nothing away from that. But goddamn, how are we rewarding the ones that have this mindset? I swear for God, if I had a chick and she had a podcast talking about relationships and I heard some shit like this, you would see me over in the corner like...
And also, like, you know, if he starts being nitpicky of like, this is how much I paid, this is how much you paid, that's a red flag in the entire situation.
If you are Venmoing your man,
Oh, yeah.
that's so embarrassing. Like, for you.
Exactly.
And for him.
And I just...
The common saying on this channel is single women will keep single women single. But with this, it's married women are also keeping single women single. Think about the luck of her draw, and that this can be influential to a sea of modern women. Excuse me?
just think now, like, people are like, oh, that's gold digging or that's something. No, it's not.
Okay, then I'm digging.
Yeah,
for
okay.
gold.
But all I'm saying
This is incredible. Self-professed gold digger. Got it.
is when I started dating my husband, I knew that I made a lot of money in my 20s. I worked, like you worked in data analytics. Now that I know that it's data analytics and comms second, but worked in data analytics. I worked in tech. We made her a fuck ton of our own money. And then I was at this point where I was like, if I'm going to marry somebody, I want them to be the provider. And that was just something I went into. And I got that with Nav. Straight up, he told me, he's like, my family's a little more traditional. We live with our in-laws. Are you down for that? And I was like, I'm going to make his change. Like, I'm going to make him change his mind. But the one thing always that he did was, because I'm more traditional, I always believe that I'm going to be a provider. And so I wanted that. And I always knew that my income was going to be a nice to have, not to need, a need to have.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of man I chased.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of man I wanted to be with.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I chased him. He chased me, actually. But you know
Okay,
what I'm
we got
saying.
it.
Yeah.
And so if you're like someone who's trying to date and stuff, look for a guy's ambition.
Yeah.
And also look for like, be honest with his bank account, because a lot of guys put up a front. I think somebody commented on one of your TikToks. How do you know when a man is flexing his money and being a fake ambitious person versus a real one?
I don't know who Nav is, but shout out to this young woman right here, because she's demonstrating how you can have a podcast and talk about these very touchy subjects, but also not disrespect the man that she is currently with.
I mean, honestly, women's intuition is so powerful. And I think the more that you can get in touch, like spiritually, with like your inner being and your inner self, like that will lead you. That will never lead you astray, I should say. And I would talk to my therapist about this, like that gut feeling. And she's like, your gut feeling is actually not an impulsive feeling. Your gut is your body's way of aggregating all the data of everything that you've ever experienced
Did she say her therapist taught her that?
in your whole life, so that you can quickly shortcut and make a decision, which is like so incredible to think that we even have that ability.
What?
So with Akash, I feel like I knew that.
Someone save this man. What is this? What is this? Yeah, women have a gut instinct power which makes them superhuman. Yeah, they have it. Right? This called intuition. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing that women have the power to be able to just believe the bullshit that they created their tummy. It just run forth and free with that. It is just such a superpower. What is this shit? How could you set up a foundation with the airy fairiness of this? Oh, but wait, on top of all of this, what he creates in reality based off of being actually talented, actually funny, actually knowledgeable about the world, she receives those benefits from as she makes up this shit. She's just making shit up in order to cope like with her decision-making capabilities.
About him very early on that he was very ambitious. He wanted to work hard and he wanted to be a provider. And interestingly, he was really not making that much money when we first got together. So it really depends. Like, you have to look at like the quality of the person that you're with and their ambitions. Like, it's okay to be with someone that's not making a lot of money in the beginning, because you can work through that. But the person has to be getting up every day, going to work, like chasing their dreams, doing all that stuff. And like, unlike Neho, I didn't make a fuck ton of money. I was working, but like I was not making a fuck ton of money. And candidly, I saw things that my mom went through in her marriage where my dad was very secretive, possessive, and just not generous at all. And I noticed that, and I really hated that. And I just hated like how he would give things, but there would be strings attached, or like he would want my mom to spend her money before he even chipped in. And like, I don't even know how my mom managed to like pay my college tuition so many times, but she did. And like, she's such a boss ass lady for that. So I knew that with my husband, I really, really, really like was looking for that. And also like, this is like a random niche association, but if anyone has ever watched Real Housewives of New Jersey, like the OG seasons, like Melissa and Joe, who were like OG in like season 3, I was like, oh, I want that kind of lifestyle where her husband just takes care of like every need of hers, and I love that. But what I especially love, and I want to like separate for the girls, is like, you don't have to be a trad wife for your man to be a provider. If you want to do that, and that's amazing, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do things for your husband, you absolutely should do seva for your partner, but you don't have to just cook and clean. Like, you don't have to justify your presence as wanting to be in your divine feminine energy and staying at home and not having as much stress, because as women, we aren't really that capable of handling stress to that degree that maybe men are, because of our hormonal cycles. We need more sleep, we need more rest, and that kind of thing, Yeah,
I also think money is such a sensitive topic, but it is.
Now, while on the surface, she did say some things there that actually made some sense. I do think that men are more equipped to deal with being overwhelmed or when they are ultra stressed. But if you juxtapose those comments with those previous statements, I think that it's excuses to avoid difficult wifely duties while still being expected to be taken care of 24/7, right? You begin to hear a degree of trauma as she describes how she watched her father deal with her mother, which is playing into her expectations of being 100% taken care of. She compared it to some type of media show that she modeled her life after. And the thing is that raising a family is very difficult. Could it be that the father was the structure didn't want to give money in certain situations because he understood the numbers and the bottom line. So while he appeared to be cheap, in reality, he was trying to be a planner. And now with that trauma, she wields it like an axe. She's utilizing it as a weapon to drive financial decisions in her current marriage. And even though you're hearing these statements, she won. She got married to someone where she never needs to lift another finger within her life. But the issue is that when this content reaches other people, other women, then it becomes a part of them. Unless there's feedback or critique where we can dissect and go over this in order to allow them to think with a little bit more empathy. All take and no give. And this is the exact dynamic, the exact quality that destroys many modern day relationships.
The biggest reason why a lot of relationships don't work out.
Yeah.
So as much as we're like, obviously there's some truth to what we're saying and we're joking around and stuff, like have those hard money conversations from the beginning.
Yeah.
Know how much each person makes. Be like, hey, what does the future look like? The one thing I will say, what Jasleen did, but she knew because Akash was ambitious, is you dated for the potential of Akash.
Yeah.
If you get red flags at the beginning, do never date for the potential of somebody in the sense where they're not getting up in the morning and they're ambitious and they're lying to you about what they're actually doing. And they're like, they're dreaming. Okay, I think this is important to say. There is dreaming big and being like, I'm gonna make it. And there's like being like, okay, this person has everything in place to make it. I really believe in them and they believe in themselves and like things like that. There's also these like hoax dream biggers where people just talk and talk. I've been with guys like that where they're like, yeah, one day I'm gonna be making like $500,000 a year. One day I'll be doing this.
Right.
How much do you believe in that person? And that's your gut intuition that you keep saying is how much do you believe that that person is going to be bringing that much money in? Or how much do you believe that that person's dreams are going to come true? And you have to separate that.
Yeah. And also with...
She's making good points. I actually appreciate her talking points a lot more. But she's right. There's a certain behavior along with the idea. And there's many idea people out in the world today. But ideas don't pay any goddamn money. It's about the execution. But although that she's correct, whatever happened to the assessment of a man based off of his moral character, his integrity, right? Is he honest? Is he masculine? Is he ambitious? Does he treat you functionally well? It just seems like the focus on the finances, it's hypergamy at the end of the day. I'm not trying to fight up against it. It's just enlightening to hear it to this degree. At the end of the day, I don't fight against hypergamy. I'm a competitor at the end of the day. It's survival of the fittest out here. So get in what you fit in. But I just think that it's enlightening to listen to.
Akash too, I'll say like he always had that ambition, but I think he really lacked the execution in terms of like organizational skills.
Did you help him be
organized?
organized?
I feel like that's something I really helped him with.
Okay.
And we talked about things like this in couples therapy or like in various discussions. And I think you can have your relationship can be a work in progress. It doesn't have to be perfect from day one, but don't ignore any red flags. And you can say, hey, like, I noticed that, you're saying one thing, but maybe you're doing another. Like, I just want to let you know that, like, I think you would be better off if you were doing X, Y, and Z or something, because sometimes women are like often better at spotting those kind of things.
For sure.
So you have to see if the guy's receptive to that. You know what I mean?
Also, thoughts on like ultimatums in terms of like how many years would you give to somebody to like figure their shit out before being like, okay, is that a good way to go or is that not a good way to go in a relationship? Because I'm always curious on how that works. If I was somebody who was dating somebody who probably wasn't making a lot of money, but they had ambition and they were like doing something, I would be so happy that they're following their dreams. But at some point, there has to be a cap if we're thinking about a future and a family and like supporting that lifestyle of like, hey, like if this doesn't work out in like 5 years, like, can you go back to a 9 to 5 or can you go back to tech? What do you think about that?
I mean, I would say, look, I would give it 3 to 4 years.
I think so too.
I think once you're approaching 5 years, you're starting to, it's a sunk cost. I don't know what that means. I think it applies though.
Equity, sunk cost.
STEM. No, I just think.
Yeah, so sunk cost means that in the assessment of your future decisions, you should not take into account the amount of time, money, resources that you have previously invested into it. Their discussion continues to highlight the transactional nature of modern dating and modern relationships today, and it just lets you guys know how conditional their love is. So men should understand this. If you choose to play the game, don't be blue pill, But if you want to be purple pill and you choose to play the game, then you have to be able to know this, because if you're not protecting yourself, they couldn't survive if the comedians end up getting sued and lose their empire. They out of there, baby. Oh, but wait. We got no-fault divorce as a tool. There are lawyers that will look at her coming through the front door of their divorce office and understand that she's Akasha's wife and be rubbing his hands together like Birdman, thinking of the Bentley that he's going to be able to purchase after the divorce goes through in about 4 to 5 years after she walks into the front door. If you're a man that is worth your weight in salt and you're building yourself up, you must protect yourself at all costs. If you just go in there rose-colored glasses and you think that the love will persist through all, you are absolutely bugging. Just listen to them talk.
When it comes to 5 years, you want to like look out for your own timeline and look out for yourself, and maybe like things just aren't aligning. If it's by 5 years, you guys just aren't on the same page, like you'll kind of know. And I will say around 2 years is when you'll probably get to the bumpiest part of your relationship, because the honeymoon stage is over.
For sure.
The lustful stage is over, and then you start getting to the real nitty-gritty problems. And I'm definitely an advocate for living with each other beforehand. I know that's not always a possibility.
I agree with
for
that.
people that, come from traditional families and stuff, but I think it makes a really big difference before you get married to kind of understand that about each other. So
my counter to that, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm going to end the content right here. Understand this. This is exactly why men should treat marriage as a business, because it's how these women think about it. This is all about finances. None of it is about character. It's about his ambition, his potential, because what's mine is mine and what his is mine. It's a business. Shit, don't believe me? Go call a divorce lawyer. He'll tell you immediately. All right? This video actually reminds me of that Summer Walker video that we did not too long ago.
And when you go broke, I will leave you. So figure it out.
So you're here to just bleed them dry.
Yes.
As soon as you get everything, you're off.
But yeah, I think that I'm done with this content for right now. I think that information in regards to a marriage should be something that is kept within the marriage and not released out on the social media street. How did this red flag get in here? I don't know. Anyway, I think within this, there's a couple of lessons. There's a bunch of lessons within this. But I think that women who don't understand that you creating boundaries or needing privacy for certain things, right? If they see that as a threat without being able to trust or respect your leadership, just understand the true intentions or the reasons behind her wanting to have access to that information, especially if you're gaining so much fame, notoriety, and money with the things that you command from this world. Because if she fights you for that, then deep down, you got to ask yourself, does she see marriage as a come up, like a lifestyle come up? Or even if the going gets tough and you lose access to all of that, does she also see it as a potential lifestyle exit plan? No matter who you guys choose, understand that it's going to be a degree of risk. And the more information that you understand into human nature, the less likely that you're going to do a bad job at picking correctly. But build your kingdom up first. Know what your worth is. Set life on your terms. And make sure whoever it is that you bring up into the fold, into your kingdom, is an asset and understands the mission, and above all, respects you through and through. Respect your name through and through. Because if not, she might demonstrate her selfishness and squander the opportunity that your success brought her. All right, guys. Questions, comments, concerns, down up in the comment box down below. Let me know what you think about this revelation, the content as I present it to you. Light up the comments. I want to see what you guys think. Maybe we'll go up and do a live stream about it. You guys let me know. Until next time, peace.
So, without further ado, MTR, cut through the BS like we in charge. No cap with the rappers like steel bars. I'm packing and rapping like here we are. Mediocre tutorial reviews. Like, comment, share my views. Come up and I paid my dues. Big step in my black way shoes. MTR, he break it down, yeah, it's MTR. Check out the sound with his MTR. No one put it down like it's MTR.